Imagine for a moment that the very world you see around you is not the world you think it is. Imagine that the circumstances, the events, and even the people you encounter are not the reality that you have been told to accept, but the reflection of something far more powerful, something within you. What if I told you that the secret to transforming your life lies not in the external world, but in the world of your own consciousness? What if your thoughts, your feelings, and your imagination could create the very life you dream of? This is not a mere fantasy, it is grounded in the science of human potential, the science of consciousness. The human mind, when properly understood and harnessed, is the most powerful tool in existence. It has the ability to shape and create your reality with precision, as if it were a sculptor shaping clay. In today's talk, we will explore the science behind the techniques that allow you to tap into this infinite potential, to use your imagination as the means of transforming your reality. Consciousness is the bedrock of all existence. It is not merely an abstract concept or a passive state, it is the very essence of creation. The world you see around you, the events you encounter, and even the people you meet are not just external, isolated elements, they are projections of an inner reality, shaped by your consciousness. The truth is, your consciousness is not just a passive observer of the world, it is the creator, the source from which everything flows. When we begin to grasp the idea that everything we experience is a reflection of our internal state, we unlock the true power of transformation. It is essential to understand that the external world is not the cause of our circumstances, but rather the effect of our inner world. Every thought, every belief, and every assumption we hold shapes the world we experience. This is the foundation of the law of correspondence, which asserts that as within, so without. In other words, the inner state of mind creates and mirrors the outer world. When one changes their internal state, the world around them begins to change as well. This concept is not new, nor is it confined to mystical or philosophical traditions alone. It resonates deeply with the findings of modern science, particularly in the field of quantum physics. Quantum theory proposes that reality, at its most fundamental level, does not exist as a fixed and definite entity, but instead exists as probabilities, potentialities awaiting observation. The moment we observe or engage with this potential, we collapse it into a specific reality. Our consciousness, then, is not just a passive observer of the world, it plays an active and crucial role in shaping it. The role of consciousness in the creation of reality is further illustrated in the idea that all things are made of energy, and energy is shaped by thought. When we focus our attention on something, when we direct our mental energy toward a particular thought or desire, we are influencing the very fabric of the universe. Thoughts are not just fleeting, intangible things, they are the building blocks of reality itself. Every thought, no matter how small, sends ripples into the vast sea of potential, shaping what will become the world of tomorrow. This process of creation through consciousness operates not only on the macro scale, such as the manifestation of grand desires, but also in the micro scale on the level of daily experiences and interactions. It is not only the large events that are shaped by our beliefs, but the smallest details of our lives, the people we meet, the opportunities that arise, the circumstances we face, they are all influenced by the thoughts and beliefs we hold, often without conscious awareness. Our assumptions about life, about success, and about ourselves set the stage for what we will encounter in our reality. In fact, it can be said that we do not experience the world as it is, but rather we experience the world as we are. One of the most important aspects of this understanding is that consciousness is not fixed. It is fluid, dynamic, and ever-evolving. Our consciousness is not a static reflection of the world, but a constant force that is capable of change and growth. Through deliberate attention and focused intention, we can shift our consciousness and, in turn, change our experiences. This is where the true power lies. We are not bound by our current circumstances or the world we see. We can transcend them by shifting our consciousness to align with a higher, more desirable state. The concept of shifting consciousness aligns with what is often referred to as mental discipline. This discipline is the ability to train the mind to focus on specific thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions that align with the desired outcomes. It is not enough to simply wish for something to change in the external world. One must first be willing to change their internal state in order to align with the reality they seek. The most powerful tool for this shift is imagination. Imagination is the vehicle through which consciousness takes form. Through the act of vividly imagining a desired outcome, one impresses that thought upon the subconscious mind. The subconscious, in turn, begins to reorganize the external world to reflect this new internal reality. Imagination is not a whimsical escape from reality. It is the mechanism by which the inner world influences the outer world. The mind does not differentiate between a vividly imagined scenario and a real experience. Neuroscientific studies have demonstrated that the same neural pathways fire in the brain when we imagine an experience as when we physically experience it. The brain processes mental images as though they are real, creating a feedback loop that leads to the manifestation of what was imagined. This is not just a theory, it is a process that has been scientifically validated and observed in both laboratory settings and real-world applications. When one consciously directs their imagination toward a specific outcome, they are actively shaping their reality. This process of conscious creation is available to anyone who understands the relationship between consciousness and experience. However, it requires both awareness and discipline. The key is to maintain a constant state of focus on the desired outcome, without being swayed by the evidence of the senses. The physical world may present temporary challenges, but these challenges are not the final word. They are merely the result of past beliefs and assumptions, and they can be changed by shifting the focus of consciousness. To understand this concept fully, we must acknowledge the significance of belief and assumption. Belief is not simply a passive acceptance of external truths. It is an active force that shapes the world. Our beliefs act as filters through which we interpret the world, and they also govern the experiences we have. When we believe something to be true, whether it is a belief about ourselves, about others, or about the world, we create the conditions for that belief to manifest. Assumption plays a key role in this process. By assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, by imagining and believing that what we desire is already true, we align our internal state with the desired outcome. This assumption is not merely a mental exercise, it is a state of being. The moment we embody the assumption of fulfillment, we initiate the process of transformation. The world begins to shift to reflect this new assumption, and the external reality begins to conform to the internal state of consciousness. Ultimately, the science of consciousness tells us that we are not mere passengers on a journey through life, we are the creators of that journey. We are the architects of our own reality, shaping it with every thought, belief, and assumption we hold. As we become more aware of the power of our consciousness and our ability to influence it, we unlock the true potential within us. The key is in understanding that reality is not something that happens to us, it is something that happens through us, shaped by the power of our consciousness. The moment we take control of our internal state, the world around us begins to reflect that new state, and we begin to experience life on our own terms. Imagination is one of the most powerful tools available to any individual who seeks to shape their reality. It is not simply a whimsical daydream or a fleeting fantasy, it is the creative force that molds the fabric of our experiences. Imagination is the key to unlocking the potential of the mind, and it is through the use of this mental tool that one can begin to shape the external world according to their inner desires. The idea that imagination can create reality is not merely a philosophical notion. It is grounded in both ancient wisdom and modern scientific understanding. The human brain, in many ways, cannot distinguish between a vivid mental image and a real, physical experience. This concept has been explored extensively in modern neuroscience. When we vividly imagine something, our brain processes this mental image in much the same way it processes an actual event. The neurons fire as if the imagined experience is real. This phenomenon is known as neural simulation. Essentially, when we imagine something with great clarity and emotion, we are tricking our brain into thinking that this imagined event is occurring in the present moment. This creates the conditions for our brain and body to align with the imagined experience, and over time, this alignment manifests in our external circumstances. The connection between imagination and reality creation can also be understood through the lens of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections in response to thoughts, experiences, and learning. When we consistently imagine a particular outcome or scenario, we are rewiring our brain to align with that imagined reality. Just as practicing a skill over time strengthens the neural pathways related to that skill, so too does repeatedly imagining a desired outcome strengthen the neural pathways that align with the manifestation of that outcome. In essence, the brain becomes conditioned to expect the imagined reality, and this conditioning influences the physical world. Furthermore, when we engage the emotions while imagining, the process becomes even more potent. Emotion acts as the energy that powers the imagination. When we imagine a desired scenario and infuse it with emotion, whether it's the joy of success, the relief of a challenge overcome, or the peace of a fulfilled desire, we create a powerful mental and emotional state that propels our creation forward. Neuroscientific research shows that emotions are deeply tied to memory and experience. Strong emotions increase the likelihood of experiences being encoded into long-term memory, which then shapes future actions, thoughts, and beliefs. The emotions tied to a mental image create a resonance, or vibrational frequency, that aligns the mind and body with the desired outcome, making the creation process faster and more effective. Imagination then is not just a passive act, it is an active, dynamic force. To imagine vividly and emotionally is to set into motion the very processes that bring your desires into reality. However, this process requires faith and consistency. It is not enough to imagine something once and expect it to manifest. Just as any skill requires practice, so too does the art of creation through imagination. The more consistently one engages with their imagination and aligns it with their desires, the more powerfully it influences their physical reality. The key is in maintaining unwavering faith in the power of imagination, regardless of external circumstances. The external world may not immediately reflect the inner world, but it is only a matter of time before the imagined reality begins to take form. One of the most profound aspects of imagination is its ability to bridge the gap between the present and the desired future. When we imagine, we are not simply projecting ourselves into an idealized version of reality, we are living in that reality in our minds. We are experiencing it as though it has already happened. This is where the concept of living in the end comes into play. By imagining the end result of a desire, not as something to be achieved in the future, but as something already realized in the present, we align ourselves with the state of fulfillment. This mental alignment creates a vibration that attracts the desired reality into our experience. To engage imagination effectively, it is important to immerse oneself fully in the desired outcome. This is not merely about seeing a mental picture, but about feeling the emotions associated with the fulfillment of the desire. For example, if the desire is for a new job, one should imagine not just the job itself, but the feelings of pride, accomplishment, and fulfillment that come with it. These emotions are the fuel that powers the imagination and accelerates the manifestation process. The more vividly and emotionally one engages with the imagined outcome, the more quickly the subconscious mind begins to believe it is true. Once the subconscious mind accepts the imagined reality as fact, it will begin to rearrange circumstances and attract the necessary people, events, and opportunities to bring that imagined reality into the physical world. In addition to creating the conditions for manifestation, imagination also serves as a form of problem solving. When faced with challenges or obstacles, one can use imagination to visualize solutions. By mentally rehearsing the desired outcome and seeing oneself successfully navigating the problem, the mind begins to work toward finding real-world solutions. This mental rehearsal is a powerful tool for overcoming doubts and limiting beliefs. The brain does not differentiate between actual experiences and vividly imagined experiences. So by mentally rehearsing success, one programs the mind for success. Imagination becomes a mental workout, strengthening the neural pathways associated with positive outcomes and reducing the mental barriers to achieving them. In terms of the broader picture, imagination serves as a tool for self-empowerment. It allows individuals to realize that they are not merely victims of external circumstances, but active participants in the creation of their own lives. The world is not something that happens to them, it is something they shape with their minds. When one fully embraces the power of imagination, they begin to understand that all of life's experiences are rooted in the thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions they hold. The realization that imagination can create reality opens up a world of infinite possibility. The only limitations that exist are the ones imposed by the mind. The power of imagination is immense, but it must be cultivated with care and attention. Like any tool, it requires focus and practice. The more we use our imagination to vividly visualize our desires, the more we align our inner world with our outer experiences. It is not enough to imagine casually or passively. One must engage with the imagination fully and consistently, using it to create a mental environment that is conducive to the fulfillment of one's desires. When we do this, we begin to realize that the power to create the life we desire has always been within us, waiting to be unlocked. Through the intentional use of imagination, we transform not only our minds but our realities as well. The power of assumption is a fundamental principle that governs the creation of our reality. It is the idea that by assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, one can align their consciousness with the desired outcome, causing that outcome to materialize in the physical world. This principle is rooted in the idea that our beliefs and assumptions shape the world around us. When we assume something to be true, regardless of current circumstances, we are essentially programming our subconscious mind to accept it as reality. This process activates the creative power of our consciousness, setting into motion the forces that bring our desires into form. Assumption is not simply about wishful thinking or hoping for something to happen. It is a deep inner knowing that what we desire is already ours, even before it appears in the physical world. This concept is closely tied to the idea of living in the end. When we assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, we are mentally living as if our desire has already been realized. We are not waiting for something to change in the external world before we believe in its possibility. Instead, we are using our imagination and belief to align ourselves with the reality we wish to experience. The assumption of fulfillment becomes the foundation upon which the new reality is built. The power of assumption works because of the way the mind functions. The subconscious mind cannot differentiate between what is real and what is vividly imagined. This is a well-documented phenomenon in neuroscience, where research shows that the brain processes imagined experiences in much the same way it processes actual experiences. When we vividly imagine a scenario, the same neural circuits are activated as if the event were actually taking place. The subconscious mind, which governs our habits, behaviors, and actions, takes this imagined experience as truth and begins to work toward making it a reality. The key to using assumption effectively is emotional engagement. The subconscious mind responds to the emotions that accompany our assumptions. The stronger the emotion tied to an assumption, the more deeply it is impressed upon the subconscious, and the more powerful its effect on the outer world. When we assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, we are not just imagining it as a distant future event, we are feeling the emotions as if it is happening now. This emotional connection is what drives the creation process. The feeling of already having what we desire activates the forces of attraction, drawing our desired outcome into our experience. Assumption operates on the principle that thought creates reality. The moment we accept something as true, we begin to see the world through the lens of that assumption. Our thoughts shape our perception of reality, and our perception influences our actions. If we assume that we are successful, for example, we begin to see opportunities for success where we might have once seen obstacles. We begin to act in ways that are aligned with success, and the world reflects this shift in consciousness. It is not enough to merely think positively or hope for the best. The assumption must be deep-rooted, unwavering, and consistent. We must live in the state of assumption, as if our desire is already part of our present reality. One of the most profound aspects of assumption is its ability to bypass the limitations of external circumstances. Often we find ourselves waiting for the right conditions to manifest before we take action or believe in the possibility of our desires. However, the power of assumption allows us to transcend these limitations. We do not need to wait for the outer world to align with our desires. Instead, we can assume the feeling of having already received what we desire, regardless of what is happening in the external world. By doing so, we align ourselves with the desired outcome, and the outer world begins to shift in accordance with our internal assumptions. The power of assumption also ties into the concept of mental discipline. Just as skill must be practiced and refined, so too must the ability to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. It is not enough to assume for a brief moment and then return to doubt or uncertainty. The key to successful assumption is persistence. The more consistently we maintain the assumption, the more deeply it is ingrained in our subconscious mind. It is through this repetition and sustained focus that we begin to reprogram our beliefs, changing our perceptions, and ultimately our reality. The assumption becomes a new belief, one that shapes our thoughts, behaviors, and experiences. Another important aspect of assumption is its connection to self-concept. Our self-concept is the collection of beliefs and assumptions we hold about who we are and what we are capable of achieving. When we assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, we are also assuming a new identity, a version of ourselves who already has what we desire. This shift in identity is key to the manifestation process. If we continue to identify with lack or limitation, we will attract experiences that reflect those beliefs. However, if we assume the identity of someone who is successful, loved, or wealthy, we begin to attract the circumstances that align with this new identity. The power of assumption allows us to step into a new version of ourselves, one that is fully aligned with our desires. The effectiveness of assumption is also tied to the law of attraction, which states that like attracts like. The feeling of the wish fulfilled, when assumed and felt with conviction, creates a vibrational frequency that aligns with the desired outcome. This frequency acts as a magnet, drawing circumstances, people, and opportunities that match it. The stronger and more persistent the assumption, the more magnetic it becomes. As we continue to assume the feeling of fulfillment, we begin to attract everything necessary for the manifestation of our desires. It is important to note that assumption requires a deep level of trust. We must trust that the assumption will eventually be reflected in the outer world, even if there is no immediate evidence to support it. Trusting in the power of assumption means believing that the universe will respond to the internal shift we have made, and that the external world will eventually conform to our new beliefs. This trust is what allows the process to unfold with ease, without doubt or resistance. The moment we stop doubting and fully embrace the assumption as truth, the manifestation process accelerates. The power of assumption is not about force or struggle, it is about alignment. It is about aligning your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs with the reality you desire, and then allowing the external world to reflect that alignment. The more you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the more you become a magnet for the desired outcome. By changing your assumptions, you change your perception of reality, and your perception shapes the world you experience. The assumption, when fully embraced, becomes the foundation of your new reality. It is a powerful tool for transformation, one that, when practiced with faith and consistency, can bring about profound changes in every aspect of life. Faith is not merely a passive belief in something external, it is an active, dynamic force that shapes the world. Faith is the inner conviction that what you desire, no matter how improbable or out of reach it may seem, is already yours. It is the absolute assurance that your desires have already been fulfilled. And it is through this unwavering faith that you align your inner world with the outer reality you wish to experience. This deep-seated conviction holds the power to overcome any obstacle, regardless of how solid or unyielding it may appear in the physical world. At its core, faith is the certainty that the imagined reality is as real as anything we can see with our eyes. This is where the transformative power of the mind lies. When we place faith in our desires, when we truly believe that they have already manifested in our lives, we activate the subconscious mind to bring that belief into physical form. The moment we accept something as true, the mind begins to work in the background, orchestrating the necessary people, events, and circumstances to bring that belief into existence. The world does not dictate what is possible for us, rather, it is our belief that dictates the limits of what we can achieve. Faith, however, does not require evidence to prove its validity. It is not contingent on external circumstances or appearances. In fact, faith becomes most powerful when there is no visible proof of the desired outcome. It is the absence of evidence that tests the strength of one's belief. In the face of doubt, when the world seems to contradict what we desire, it is faith that sustains us. This is why faith is often described as a deep inner knowing, a conviction that remains firm regardless of how things may appear. It is this inner certainty that activates the law of attraction, a law that brings to us those circumstances that match our inner belief. To have faith is to trust in the unseen, to believe that what we desire is already in motion, even if we cannot yet perceive it with our senses. This requires a level of mental discipline and emotional resilience. The key is to maintain a consistent, unwavering belief in the fulfillment of the desire. Doubt, even the smallest flicker of uncertainty, can disrupt the creative process. Therefore, faith requires constant vigilance, a conscious effort to redirect the mind away from the negative and toward the desired outcome. The mind must be continually focused on the end result, and faith is what keeps that focus intact. Faith is also deeply connected to the concept of persistence. It is not enough to believe once and then abandon the belief when external circumstances do not align immediately. Faith is a continual, sustained belief, unwavering through time and space. The more we persist in our faith, the more it becomes ingrained in our subconscious mind. Over time, this persistent belief reshapes our mental and emotional patterns, changing the way we perceive the world and, consequently, the way the world responds to us. One of the most significant aspects of faith is its ability to influence the subconscious mind. The subconscious does not reason or question, it accepts whatever is impressed upon it. When we place our faith in a desire, when we truly believe that it is already fulfilled, we impress that belief upon the subconscious. The subconscious then begins to align our thoughts, behaviors, and actions with the assumption of fulfillment. This leads to inspired actions that are aligned with the desired outcome. The creative power of faith lies in its ability to transform the subconscious mind into an agent of manifestation. Faith also plays a key role in overcoming limitations. Often individuals limit themselves by focusing on their perceived lack or limitations. They see the external world as a reflection of their current state, and they mistakenly believe that what they see is all that is possible for them. However, faith allows us to transcend these limitations. When we have faith in a higher possibility, we are able to break free from the constraints of our current reality. Faith is the bridge between the present and the future. It is the force that enables us to see beyond what is and envision what could be. The process of faith is deeply tied to the idea of feeling the wish fulfilled. This concept suggests that in order to bring a desire into manifestation, we must fully embody the feelings associated with the fulfillment of that desire. Faith is not simply about mentally affirming something to be true, it is about emotionally experiencing the truth of it. The feeling of already having what we desire is the language that the subconscious understands. The more we feel this fulfillment in our hearts, the more the subconscious mind begins to accept it as reality. The stronger the emotional engagement, the more powerful the belief, and the faster the manifestation. In practice, faith is an internal state that must be nurtured. It is not something that can be cultivated simply by thinking positively or hoping for the best. It requires constant reinforcement, a willingness to ignore the evidence of the senses, and a steadfast belief that the unseen is already in motion. One way to strengthen faith is through mental repetition. By repeatedly imagining and emotionally engaging with the desired outcome, we deepen our belief and align ourselves with that outcome. This repetition solidifies the conviction that the desire is already ours. Faith, in essence, is the act of surrendering to the inner knowledge that the universe is working in alignment with our desires. It is the belief that the unseen forces of creation are at work, even when they are not visible. Faith is the foundation upon which all manifestation is built. Without it, there is no creation, there is only wishing and hoping. With faith, however, we become active creators, shaping our world with our thoughts, emotions, and beliefs. When we have faith, we cease to doubt and cease to question the process of manifestation. Faith removes the mental resistance that often slows down the creative process. It opens the door to possibilities, allowing us to see solutions rather than problems. It removes the limitations that the ego imposes and replaces them with a sense of certainty and expectation. Faith is not something that can be cultivated overnight. It requires practice, patience, and persistence. Yet with consistent belief, it becomes the driving force behind all creation. Faith is not just about believing in something external. It is about knowing that the world is malleable, that reality is fluid, and that the power to shape it lies within us. It is the unwavering conviction that the desires we hold in our hearts can and will be made manifest. And it is through this unshakable belief that the outer world begins to reflect our inner reality. Faith is the creative force that activates the law of attraction, the force that brings into being the desires that we hold with deep conviction. When we trust in this power, when we surrender to the belief that all is already accomplished, we unlock the infinite potential that exists within us. Faith is the gateway to a life of endless possibility. The concept of the subconscious mind plays a critical role in the process of manifestation and the realization of our desires. The subconscious is often referred to as the silent partner in the creation of our reality, working behind the scenes to influence our actions, behaviors, and perceptions. It operates on a level far deeper than conscious thought and is primarily responsible for the habits and automatic responses that shape our daily lives. The power of the subconscious lies in its ability to absorb and act upon whatever is impressed upon it, whether those impressions come from external circumstances, past experiences, or the thoughts and beliefs we consistently hold in our minds. The subconscious mind is not capable of rational thought or logical reasoning. It does not distinguish between what is real and what is imagined. This is why the process of imagination and assumption is so crucial to manifestation. When we vividly imagine a scenario, especially when we engage the emotions associated with that imagined experience, we impress that image upon the subconscious. The subconscious, in turn, accepts that image as truth, even if it is not yet reflected in the physical world. This acceptance by the subconscious mind sets into motion a series of events and actions that lead to the physical manifestation of the desired outcome. One of the most powerful aspects of the subconscious is its ability to influence behavior. The subconscious mind controls the vast majority of our actions and decisions. While our conscious mind may make the initial choice or decision, it is the subconscious that guides the behavior that follows. This is why changing our habitual patterns of thinking and believing is essential to creating lasting change in our lives. If we wish to experience different outcomes, we must first change the assumptions and beliefs stored in the subconscious. By doing so, we begin to create new mental patterns that are aligned with the life we wish to manifest. The process of impressing the subconscious mind is not an instant or automatic process. It requires consistency and repetition. Just as a muscle must be exercised to become stronger, the subconscious mind must be conditioned to accept new beliefs and assumptions. The more we focus on a particular thought or feeling, especially when accompanied by strong emotion, the more deeply it is impressed upon the subconscious. Over time, these impressions become deeply ingrained beliefs, which then dictate our actions, reactions, and perceptions. This is why it is so important to maintain unwavering faith in the desired outcome. When we hold a belief long enough, the subconscious will begin to reflect that belief, leading to a natural shift in our behavior and external circumstances. The subconscious mind operates according to a law known as mental equivalent, which states that the mind will create a reality that is in direct alignment with the thoughts and beliefs it holds. This law underscores the idea that what we constantly think about, feel, and imagine will ultimately shape our physical world. If we hold the belief that success is out of reach or that we are unworthy of love, these subconscious beliefs will be reflected in our external experiences. On the other hand, when we consciously choose to replace these limiting beliefs with empowering ones, we create new mental patterns that align with our desired outcomes. By impressing the subconscious with thoughts of success, abundance, and love, we begin to attract those very qualities into our lives. Another key point is that the subconscious mind operates through what can be described as mental pictures or images. When we imagine something with clarity and emotion, the subconscious accepts that image as real. These mental pictures serve as the blueprint for the physical manifestation. They are the map that guides the subconscious in creating the conditions necessary for the desired reality. This is why visualization is such an effective technique in manifestation. By vividly picturing our desires as already realized, we are creating a clear and compelling image that the subconscious can work with. The clearer the image, the more easily the subconscious can accept it as truth and begin to work toward its fulfillment. The subconscious is also highly receptive to suggestion, especially when the conscious mind is relaxed or in a state of deep focus. This is why techniques such as meditation, deep relaxation, and hypnosis are often used to access the subconscious. When the conscious mind is quieted, the subconscious becomes more open to new ideas and beliefs. This allows us to bypass the filtering mechanisms of the conscious mind, which often limits our potential based on past experiences and beliefs. In a relaxed state, the subconscious is more pliable, allowing us to plant new seeds of thought that will grow into new beliefs and behaviors. This is why mental practices such as visualization, affirmation, and focused imagination can be so powerful in creating change. The power of the subconscious is not limited to individual desires, but also extends to collective experiences. As individuals, we are all part of a larger collective consciousness, and the beliefs held by the collective subconscious influence the world around us. This is why changing the individual's subconscious beliefs can have a ripple effect on the collective. As more people begin to adopt positive, empowering beliefs and thoughts, these collective shifts can contribute to a transformation of the external world. This idea suggests that each individual has the power not only to shape their personal reality, but also to influence the broader collective experience. To effectively influence the subconscious mind, it is essential to maintain a strong, consistent mental focus. The subconscious does not respond to wishy-washy or fleeting thoughts. It responds to persistent, clear, and emotionally charged beliefs. It is through this emotional charge that the subconscious is able to receive the message. Emotions act as the energy that fuels the mental image, making it more vivid and compelling. When we feel the emotions associated with our desired outcome, we are sending a signal to the subconscious that this desire is real and that it is already ours. This emotional engagement is what drives the creative process and accelerates the manifestation of our desires. The subconscious also operates through what can be described as a habit loop. This means that once a belief or pattern has been established, the subconscious will continue to reinforce that belief until a new one is consciously introduced. This is why it is so important to break free from limiting habits and thought patterns. When we consistently affirm and visualize our desires, we are rewiring the subconscious, creating new neural pathways that support our new beliefs. Over time, these new beliefs become automatic, and our behaviors and external circumstances begin to reflect them. A critical aspect of working with the subconscious is the ability to quiet the conscious mind. The conscious mind, with its constant chatter and analysis, can often block the flow of the subconscious. To effectively impress the subconscious, it is important to create space where the conscious mind is less active. This can be achieved through relaxation techniques, such as deep breathing or meditation, which allow the mind to settle and make it easier to focus on the desired mental image or affirmation. When the conscious mind is less active, the subconscious becomes more receptive to the thoughts and beliefs we wish to impress upon it. The subconscious mind is not an inert, passive force. It is an active participant in the creative process, shaping our reality based on the thoughts, beliefs, and images we consistently hold. By understanding the role of the subconscious and learning how to effectively influence it, we gain access to a powerful tool for creating the life we desire. The subconscious mind does not reason or question, it simply accepts and acts upon the beliefs and images we provide. Therefore, the key to transforming our external reality lies in the ability to consistently impress the subconscious with new, empowering beliefs that are aligned with our desired outcomes. Through this process, we begin to create a new world, one that reflects our deepest desires and highest potential. Imagination is the cornerstone of manifestation and the most powerful tool available to shape our reality. It is through the power of imagination that we begin to mold and create the world around us. Imagination is not simply a fleeting mental activity, it is the dynamic process by which we bring forth our desires into the realm of physical experience. Imagination is the bridge between the unseen and the seen, between the thought and the materialization. It is the faculty through which the subconscious mind accepts new beliefs and constructs the blueprint for our desired reality. When we use imagination effectively, we are essentially planting the seeds for the creation of our future. At its core, imagination is the ability to visualize, experience, and live mentally in a state that reflects our deepest desires. This mental experience is not bound by the limitations of the physical world. When we imagine, we have the freedom to experience life as we wish it to be, regardless of current circumstances. The power of imagination lies in the fact that it is unrestricted by time, space, or external conditions. When we engage the imagination, we are not merely daydreaming, we are creating an energetic imprint that will eventually materialize into physical form. Imagination is not just about visualizing a desired outcome, it is about fully inhabiting the feeling of that outcome. It is one thing to imagine success or abundance, but it is an entirely different experience to feel that success and abundance in the present moment, as though it has already been realized. The true power of imagination is unlocked when we immerse ourselves in the emotional experience of having what we desire. The more vividly we imagine our desires, and the stronger the emotions associated with that imagination, the more powerfully it impresses upon the subconscious mind. When the subconscious accepts these vivid mental images and emotional states, it sets into motion the creative forces that bring them into physical form. To engage the imagination effectively, it is important to adopt a sense of belief, an inner knowing that what is imagined is already real. When we imagine a desired outcome, it must not be seen as a distant possibility or something that might happen in the future. Instead, it must be experienced as though it is happening right now. The mind, particularly the subconscious mind, cannot distinguish between what is real and what is vividly imagined. This is why imagination is so powerful. It creates a reality in the mind that becomes the blueprint for what is to come in the physical world. When we imagine, we are also aligning ourselves with the vibration of our desires. Every thought, image, and feeling carries with it a frequency or energy that attracts like frequencies. This is the law of attraction at work. The more vividly we imagine our desires, the more we are tuning ourselves to the frequency of those desires. Our imagination is essentially tuning the radio of our mind to the station that broadcasts the reality we wish to experience. The more consistently we tune into that station, the clearer and stronger the signal becomes, eventually drawing our desires closer to us. One of the most significant aspects of imagination is that it allows us to bypass the limitations imposed by our current circumstances. Often people wait for external conditions to change before they can imagine something different for themselves. However, imagination gives us the freedom to transcend the present moment. It allows us to create a mental reality that is completely separate from what we are currently experiencing. This act of imaginative creation is not limited by what is happening in the physical world. In fact, the more we engage in vivid and emotionally charged imagination, the more we are setting in motion the events that will lead to the physical manifestation of our desires. Imagination also plays a crucial role in shifting our self-concept. Our self-concept is the image we hold of ourselves in our minds. It is the belief about who we are and what we are capable of achieving. Through the power of imagination, we can change our self-concept by mentally rehearsing new, empowering identities. By imagining ourselves as successful, confident, and capable, we begin to reprogram the subconscious mind to align with that new self-image. The more we mentally rehearse this new version of ourselves, the more we begin to act in alignment with that identity. The key to changing our outer world lies in first changing the internal picture of who we believe ourselves to be. Another powerful aspect of imagination is its connection to the concept of living in the end. When we live in the end, we mentally and emotionally experience the fulfillment of our desires as if they have already been realized. This act of living in the end requires us to imagine not just the outcome, but the emotional state that accompanies it. It is not enough to simply picture success or abundance. We must feel the joy, satisfaction, and fulfillment that would naturally come with those outcomes. The more deeply we embody this feeling, the more we align ourselves with the reality that reflects that feeling. Living in the end is the act of imagining our desires as already fulfilled. And it is through this act that the subconscious mind is impressed and begins to work toward the physical manifestation. Imagination is also an essential tool for breaking free from the limitations of the logical mind. The logical mind is often constrained by what it perceives as possible, based on current circumstances or past experiences. However, imagination has the ability to transcend these limitations. It allows us to conceive of possibilities beyond what we can see with our eyes. The more we use imagination to envision a future that is different from our current reality, the more we expand the realm of what is possible. Imagination opens the door to new opportunities, solutions, and possibilities that the logical mind may not have considered. By expanding the scope of what we can imagine, we expand the scope of what we can achieve. The creative process is also influenced by the quality of the images we imagine. The clearer and more detailed the mental image, the more real it becomes to the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind works in images, and the clearer the image, the more effectively it can be worked with. It is important to imagine with vivid detail, engaging all the senses in the process. What does the desired outcome look like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? The more we engage our senses in the imaginative process, the more compelling and real the mental image becomes. This vividness strengthens the impression upon the subconscious mind and accelerates the manifestation process. One of the most profound aspects of imagination is its ability to bring a sense of peace and assurance. When we vividly imagine our desires as already realized, we begin to feel a sense of inner fulfillment and satisfaction. This feeling of fulfillment is a powerful signal to the subconscious that the desire has been fulfilled. It is this feeling of satisfaction and completeness that draws the desire into physical form. Imagination, when used with belief and emotional engagement, generates a sense of certainty that the desired outcome is inevitable. This inner knowing eliminates doubt and resistance, allowing the creative process to unfold smoothly and naturally. The imagination is the starting point of all creation. Every physical manifestation begins as an image in the mind. Imagination is the tool through which we lay the groundwork for what is to come. It is the foundation of every desire, every goal, and every dream. The more we use the imagination, the more we activate the creative forces within us. By vividly imagining the fulfillment of our desires and aligning our emotions with those images, we send a clear message to the subconscious mind that the desired outcome is already ours. Through this process, the physical world begins to reflect our internal mental state, and the desired reality materializes. Imagination, when used consciously and intentionally, is the most powerful force for transformation and creation. It is the key to unlocking the infinite potential that exists within us. In conclusion, the journey of manifesting desires is intricately woven with the power of belief, imagination, faith, and the subconscious mind. These elements work in harmony, creating a profound connection between our inner world and the external reality we experience. The foundational principle is that what we consistently think, believe, and imagine shapes the world around us. Our thoughts, fueled by imagination, create mental images that the subconscious accepts as real, which then influences our behavior, actions, and decisions, ultimately guiding us toward the fulfillment of our desires. Faith is the unwavering belief that what we desire is already ours, even before it materializes in the physical world. It is this inner conviction that activates the subconscious mind to bring those desires into manifestation. When combined with imagination, which allows us to vividly experience our desires as already fulfilled, we amplify the power of creation. The subconscious mind, though invisible and often underestimated, plays the crucial role of converting our thoughts and beliefs into tangible outcomes. By impressing our desires upon the subconscious with consistency and emotional engagement, we align ourselves with the desired reality and allow the universal laws of attraction and creation to unfold. Through imagination, we are not only able to envision a better future, but to feel and live as though that future is already realized. The clearer and more detailed the mental images, the more effectively they are impressed upon the subconscious, bringing us closer to the reality we wish to experience. Imagination becomes the starting point of all creation, with every manifestation beginning as a thought or image in the mind. The key is to remain steadfast in belief and maintain an emotional connection with the desired outcome, knowing that through this process we are actively creating and shaping our world. The interconnectedness of these elements, faith, imagination, belief, and the subconscious mind, forms a potent system of creation. The more we practice and align ourselves with these principles, the more we tap into the vast potential within us to create the lives we desire. By understanding and harnessing these inner forces, we unlock the power to transform not only our circumstances but our entire reality, step by step. The power lies within each of us, waiting to be awakened, nurtured, and put to use in shaping the world we want to live in.